Alongside Brent Hubbs, I'm Austin Price. 2-minute drill on this Monday. Met with Josh Heupel as he met with the media. Juwan Mitchell out for the year, having shoulder surgery late last week. But interestingly enough, Coach Heupel, who doesn't like to talk about injuries, so to speak, did kind of go ahead and throw it out there. Basically, everyone that missed last week's game, the Theo Jacksons, the Jabari Smalls, those type players, even Cooper Mays, would be available this week. That tells me all hands on deck.
Well, no doubt. I mean, this is a game where there's a lot of excitement, a lot of build-up. I think this is a winnable football game for Tennessee, but it's not as winnable or as easy as you thought the South Carolina game or the Missouri game was. This is a true toss-up game, two high-powered offenses. I think if you're Tennessee, you want everybody you got in front of you. I think what's interesting is what do you do with a guy like Brandon Turnage, who was third team
and SEC Player of the Week
at Missouri and now is the SEC Player of the Week. A lot of flexibility. I think in this game you got to play a lot of DBs because of the tempo and because of everything Ole Miss does. So I think Turnage is giving you a lot of trust that you can go a lot of different ways there in the secondary.
Well, Danico Slaughter hampered last week. If he can't go this week, I think it makes everything much more smooth when you have Turnage, who's now got a game under his belt where he did lead the team in tackles, where he did win the SEC Defensive Player of the Week. Ironically enough, he was out on the locker room with us Sunday night, Hubs, said he had never played star until this past game. In fact, he said when we were going through walkthrough, they're like, all right, take a step into the gap. And he's like, they're like, good. And he's like, okay, take a step into this gap. Good. And he goes, I just kind of felt my way through it, you know. So that tells you a lot of how talented he is, that he kind of knows each part of the defense.
Well, and I think you got to give Theo Jackson a lot of credit because I think there was a lot of end of the week crash course learning on what to do, and Theo was helping him on the sideline. But again, I think that he played the game, he was productive, but he didn't bust anything. And I think that was the important part. When you look at Ole Miss, they got guys open everywhere, it seems like. 15 yards behind everybody, whatever. So clearly they create a lot of mismatch problems, a lot of different things they do to get guys open. This secondary has to be really good mentally on Saturday against the Rebels, and I think Brandon Turnage is going to have to be a part of that.
I think the defense has to be really good from a standpoint of watching Matt Corral, because Tennessee too many times this year, even on Saturday against South Carolina, Doty slipped out the back end on a 3rd and 15 once and picked up 17 yards just, jogging to the sidelines. Tennessee's got to be very cognizant of where Matt Corral is because, one, he's a lot more athletic and a lot more mobile than Luke Doty, but two, because Tennessee's had problems containing athletic quarterbacks.
Well, and the problem is this is where the balance for Tim Banks comes in. On that 3rd and long you're talking about, that was a zero blitz, all-out blitz, man coverage on the back end, so he can casually stroll to the sideline. Doty could because everybody's back was turned to him. So you say, okay, play zone. I think they should have played zone on that particular play, but if you play zone, can you get to the quarterback? If you give Matt Corral 6 or 7 seconds to throw the football, somebody's going to get open. That's the chess match and the balancing act that Tim Banks has got to play this week. Blitz, contain. How do you play contain when you blitz that much? If you play contain and play zone, can you get there with the front four and give Matt Corral some problems?
And then offensively, not chase points, they cannot fall into the trap of, we had to punt that down and then panic. This is a long game. A lot of points are going to be scored.
Well, and this is a defense that's given up a crap ton of yards in Ole Miss. I mean, they are giving it up. You look at that stat sheet, Arkansas had more yards, more first downs, more rushing yards, more passing yards. Everything was in Arkansas's favor except for 2 turnovers. Arkansas turned it over twice, and that was the difference in the game when you look at it. Tennessee's got to take care of the football, and they've got to be patient. There are plays to be made. They don't have to be 60-yard plays. There are plays to be made against this Ole Miss defense, even in the run game with that 3-3 look that Ole Miss plays. Tennessee's got to continue to be patient offensively.
Not even the sprinklers out here on the practice field can cool down Tennessee at the moment. Hot on the field, over 100 points the last 2 weeks combined. He's Brent Hubbs. I'm Austin Price for the 2-minute drill.